Hey everybody, welcome back to another Zoom interview here. I'm Billy Rainford from Direct Motocross. This episode is going to be sponsored by Fox Racing Canada. So big thanks to those guys for the continued support of Direct Motocross and all my harebrained ideas. So really look forward to continuing in the future here. But hey, as we're going to try to do in this crazy coronavirus shutdown, we're going to talk to some different people, racers, industry people, characters. I think this guy here falls into the third category here, but I've got Greg Poisson here. Greg, man, hey, thanks you for sitting in with us.
Hey, Billy, thanks very much, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this should be kind of fun. I mean, we can talk. You've done all kinds of things. You've raced, you've worked in the industry, out of the industry. Yep. You're all over the place. You're doing some other interesting things in the mental health side of things. So we got a ton of stuff to talk about. Where are you right now?
I'm at home in Peterborough, Ontario.
Peterborough. You don't have the Lindsay Peterborough accent.
I tried not to over the years, but some people say I do. It just depends. I don't sound like your typical Lindsayite.
It's funny. There really is. That is very stereotypical Canadian accent. The Lindsay accent, I think.
Yeah, just talk to Kyle Keast. He's had one forever. He sounds like he's right where he is from Lindsay. So.
It's funny to feel that. I'm actually going to do a talk with Kyle Keast this week too to kind of find out what he's up to. And
cool.
He's going to tell us his greatest race story of all time. So that's what we're.
Oh, I bet you he's got a few, man. That guy's done a lot of things, and he was a big hero of mine growing up because he went to the same high school as me actually back in the day. So Kyle was always somebody I looked up to growing up.
That's awesome. Well, that'd be cool. We'll see what kind of high school kid you were. What kind of high school kid was he?
He wasn't there when I was there, so I don't think he actually graduated.
Ooh,
but, yeah, maybe edit that out.
All right, Greg, let's back up to the beginning like we always do. Tell us, I obviously kind of know a lot of your story, but tell people how you actually got into motocross in the first place.
I started riding when I was 4 on a Honda QR50. My dad worked for Honda Canada from pretty much the time I was born up until I was about 25 or 26. He was a district sales manager as well as he handled a lot of the race support for Ontario. So he's pretty close with the guys from Machine, and that was a big program for him. You know, Peter Raymer, Mesley, Kyle at one point. He did a lot of the signing of the checks, we'll say, for those guys. So it was pretty cool. Grew up racing the Ontario scene my whole life up until I was about 24, 25, and then I hung up the boots and decided to move on from it and went to school. I went to college and graduated in business, and then started taking some different jobs outside the industry. So I worked for Shimano Canada in the cycling division for a number of years, and I think a lot of people currently from the track will remember me from that. Bringing the big blue van to the races and having some cool bikes and stuff. And now I currently work for Pirelli automotive side, so I handle I'm a sales director for them. So you deal with big round pieces of rubber all day. It's just it's a totally different deal, but it's been good.
Okay, cool. Well, you touched on a whole bunch of areas we're going to get to, but
of course, yeah,
we'll kind of keep it. We'll still looking at you. Or how far up in the racing scene did you get? What class did you make it to?
I rode intermediate for 2 years, or a couple, maybe 2 or 3 years, and that was pretty much it. Didn't go too much further than that. Had big aspirations, but I think we all do at one point, and just kind of realized you run out of talent after a while, and it's you gotta go down a different road. So
yeah, I think it's a pretty common story, right? You get to a point, you get to an age, and you kind of go, well, you get lapped at you go race something, like, what? I'm not going to get that fast. I'm going to school. So that's kind of
pretty much, yeah. I started to get old, and then I realized, like, hey, I got to do something with my life here. So yeah, it was cool. But no, it's a lot of good times, and a lot of my best friends have come from the motocross world. So it's I don't regret much of it, that's for sure.
Right, of course. And again, my favorite question too. What was your first racing number, and what's the origin story to it?
My first racing number was 17. So I was number 17. The origin story behind that was my dad was good friends with the guy from Joe Rocket. So he knew Joe Rocket's a Superbike leather producer, and big fans of Miguel Duhamel. So if anyone's familiar with him, a lot of people thought it was because of Wendell Clark, but no, it was because of Miguel Duhamel. So I was 17, and then And then I ended up being 36, and then most people remember me for 245. So 245 was my number most of my career, I guess you'd call it career. And then, yeah, that's been it for a long time.
Okay. Now you still have a bike in the garage, or what do you got going on?
Well, that's kind of a funny story. So I did for a few years, and then I got rid of one, got rid of it. And then I decided last year I was going to get back into racing again because, as many of us do, I miss the social aspect of it big time. And I miss the idea of competing because it was such a big part of my life among so many other people, that you really kind of realize that you're missing it. So, yeah, so so I got back into it a little bit last year, raced, and did one race at the end of the year, bought the bike on Thursday, raced it on the Saturday, and it was pretty crazy. And then I actually had plans to do a lot more racing this year, but that's probably why we're sitting here, because of what's going on around the world. So
Yeah, exactly. What I mean, actually, I'm at my mom's place, my parents' place up here on Lake Simcoe. I'm not too
nice.
far from you actually right now.
Oh, really? Yeah, but it's I mean, we're pretty lucky to be where, in Peterborough, we're pretty low cases and low, I don't know what you'd call it, low infection rate or low whatever you'd call it, but we're still taking all the right precautions. Everybody's working from home, and it's pretty different.
Okay. Yeah. Now I know. Okay, racing stuff is. I mean, we don't have a whole lot of cool AMA Supercross stories or big MX National stories. But how about this? What was your greatest race of all time?
Okay, my greatest race of all time. I still think about this one, and my dad will actually bring it up. If you ever sit down and have a beer with my dad or whatever you want, he'll tell you the stories that it was at Port Perry. So I don't know if you ever went to Port Perry, the track there run by Barry, who now works with Walton. And it was CMRC at the time, provincial. I was in junior. It was like my last year of junior, and I crashed on the first lap. And those back then, they had like heat races. There was like 60 to 70 guys trying to race this race or get into the mains. And I crashed first lap of the main first corner. And I came back through and I won in like 4 laps. So my dad said, he's like, I've never seen you ride so good in your entire life. And it was like, I think back to it now, and it was probably the easiest thing I've ever done. Like, I'm not saying that I won easy or whatever, but it's like you get that, you just get that feeling, that flow, and it was just so easy to ride. It was just like everything gelled really well. So, yeah, that's still one of my favorite moments. And we've had some pretty good races, some pretty good battles over the years with guys. And, back in the day, racing Eric Jeffrey every weekend in junior when he was he's younger than me, but we had some good battles. And, that guy, he'd take me out just as quickly as I take him out. So it was pretty funny.
It's surprising when he gets aggressive. I've seen him in arena cross out in Chilliwack, BC, get a little aggressive sometimes.
Oh yeah, he's one of my good friends. I've known him since we were like 10 or something like that. So he's a good buddy. But yeah, we were like the classic friends off the track, not so much on the track. But no, they're great. He's always been a great competitor.
Right. Every time he threatens to retire, he shows up again on the pro gate.
Yeah, we were talking about it this year, so I always end up being his mechanic at a lot of these races, and I show up and just help him out. I call it trainer because I'm definitely not a mechanic. Not much of a trainer either, but
just call it a man friend.
Yeah, I got to carry that legacy on. But yeah, so he wanted to do the East Coast this year, so we'll see if it works out. I hope it does because he's still too good, I think, to hang it up. So, but now he's got 3 kids. So
3 kids?
Yeah, he just had twins.
Wow, didn't even know that. That's amazing. Hey,
oh yeah, no, it's big.
Wow, incredible. Okay, well, so back in the day, how far away did you travel? Well, I know you didn't make it to pro, but it's okay. We can still talk about stuff that you did. But
yeah, I had some cool experiences. I raced Daytona Amateur Supercross twice. That was an amazing experience to be down there and just to be, on that stage, right? You come off the track and you have to go up on the oval a little bit to get around. I was like, holy smokes, like this is pretty cool. I spent some time in South Africa, living with Kieran and Daryl Fitzgerald. So that was pretty cool. That was a neat experience to ride there. And that was probably one of the biggest culture shocks I've ever had in my life. It's hard to even explain it.
He told some amazing stories about some of the craziness there.
Oh yeah, it's all true. It's all 100% true, man.
I'm sure he told you the one about throwing a small kid into the car and they go around and unlock it. You heard that one?
No. I saw some stuff I don't even know if we should talk about on here. It's more of a private conversation. Not with them, but like just in South Africa in general. amazing place, but it's also terrifying too. So it was cool. But yeah, I got to travel over there and race and ride, which was really neat. You know, it's not often somebody who's not a big time, you know, person, you know, a big time athlete or celebrity gets to travel like that and do that. So got to do that, and yeah, traveled to, you know, I was in Florida and, you know, kind of all over, not all so much all over Canada, but all over Eastern Canada a lot of the time. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, nice. And then okay, so I mean, yeah, I mean, I've seen you all over the tracks coming up. Well, and I got photos of you from back in the day, the 245, and yeah, it seems like you're always coming out of retirement though, from when I've known you.
Yeah, I pretty much gave up every year and then came back. It was there's a few years where I didn't really have. I focused a lot more on the results when I was younger. I think it was you know, one of those things where you know, your dad's kind of in the industry and, you know, you're getting your bikes for free and you know, you get all this stuff and you know, and you kind of put pressure on yourself. So if you're not getting these, you know, these results that you put on in your head, you're not having any fun. And some of the best times I had was when I did all right, but I was having the most fun. So
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
yeah,
Okay, so now I know obviously we've seen a lot more of each other lately. The past few years is because of cycling. You kind of transitioned into
yep,
like a lot of motocrossers do because we do so damn much cycling to stay fit for moto. It's
yep.
just a natural progression and a transition to cycling. But your passion now too, huh?
Yeah, I kind of just transitioned over that because Shimano Canada's Canadian headquarters are in Peterborough, and I took an entry level position there, and then kind of moved up a little bit and got more involved with different things. Shimano was involved with Supercross and some athletes in the States like Chad Reed, Justin Brayton, Dean Wilson. You know, a lot of you know, big name athletes use our products, so it was a good natural fit for me. You know, I've helped out some guys up here, Tyler Medaglia. You know, everyone knows, if anyone knows Tyler, they know he's a crazy cyclist and he's very, very good at it. A very powerful athlete. But yeah, I just tried to get into a bit more and I did some racing myself. So last year I won the Open Men's National Short Track Championship at Sea Otter, Canada. So it's a big kind of cycling festival. They have one in the States as well. This is the Canadian version. I won the mountain bike short track championship last year. So still not sure how I did that, but
That's impressive, man.
I did. Yeah, so it's been cool. It's definitely different. I still get, you know, a lot of questions, and I still get, you know, a lot of I still get a little frustrated because I see a lot of these moto guys that, you know, they don't really, you know, I'm so into cycling and it's such a different world for me now, and I'm really, you know, I learned from the best of the industry to see how they handle their cycling or their bikes, and I look at their bikes are all rusty and chains and stuff, and it's tough. So I'm just trying to change it, you know, one guy at a time. So.
Well, it's funny. I have to admit, I've always been one of those guys. Like I've you know raced mountain bikes, road bikes, triathlons, and all that kind of stuff. And I was always the guy that kind of the less often I touched my stuff, the fewer problems I had. So I was kind of that guy. I'd lube the chain. I try to clean a few things, but it seemed like the guys who had the most troubles were the guys who had their bikes apart after every ride.
Yeah, for sure. It's cycling is one thing that's a really common misconception is that, you know, coming from the moto world where say if something's bent or maybe something's broken or whatever it may be, you can often just power through it. Like the bike will still work. With cycling, it's all based on input of power and, you know, rider input, right? So you're turning the pedals, you're doing different things. And if everything's not aligned and everything's not really, you know, kind of set up properly, it can make a huge difference in how the ride works. So it's, we were doing a lot of work on guys' bikes at the races this last couple of years. And some of them I was like, I just couldn't believe what they were riding, like the equipment and the condition it was in. But, you know, as moto guys, I'd say we're pretty tough, and a lot of guys just power through it, right? They don't really care. They say, oh, I'll just go for a bike ride. It doesn't matter, you know. But for me, being in the bicycle world, it's a totally different deal.
All right, I'll go work on my Scott bikes now. When we're finished this. But hey, speaking of that Shimano thing, I remember. Yeah, I guess it was not last year. Maybe I guess it was the year before. I guess when I cycled, I mountain biked every single track at the end of the day.
Yeah, we rode the e-bikes.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I rode my normal Scott Spark 29er across Canada, and then when we got to Gopher Dunes, you guys were there, and you had that electric assist bike.
Yeah.
Electric assist thing, and I was actually able to go around the entire. Around the entire.
Yeah.
Track. We got some air, like that thing, incredible. I
Gnarly.
go around the track, like that was nuts.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I did a lot of development with that bike and that system. Well, not that bike, sorry, but the system that came with it, and did some fine tuning with Japan and whatnot, and it was pretty cool. It was really neat to be a part of that experience, and And it's kind of like being like a factory, like a test rider for like Honda or something, right? Shimano is huge in the cycling world. There's really not a bigger company. So it's pretty neat to be part of that, and to be able to get people on them and try it out and stuff like that. So it was cool. Yeah, that was a fun day. I remember it was hot as hell though. I remember just sweating, it was brutal.
Yeah, I
But
mean, you struggled pretty heavily in that loop we did. I gotta have to go back and check these Sea Otter results.
oh, dude, no, it was. I did struggle for sure. That was. I kept hitting my pedals off the ruts because it was at the end of the day, right? So I wasn't. My line choice was horrible. That's for sure. I did struggle big time. I remember that. That was not a fun. You were flying.
I just did all day. That's why I had lots of energy.
Yeah, I was probably dehydrated at that point.
Okay, so now well, a main reason we certainly wanted to talk today was catch up on all the stuff. We'll talk about what your current position at Pirelli here in a second, but you also got very involved, and a lot of stuff has happened lately in the whole mental health awareness side of things. Maybe talk to us a little bit about how you got into that, and that.
Yeah, so kind of near the end of my racing career, I started to just kind of change. It's hard to really kind of, we could sit here and talk about it for an hour, but a lot of things kind of developed within my life and different things. And I went eventually, long story short, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So I dealt with a lot of ups and downs and things like that. And, mood changes and some really erratic behavior, manic behavior, they call it. Stuff like that. It was pretty serious stuff. I didn't really realize at the time how big it was. And then I realized I was able to, with motocross and my friends that I had in the sport, as well as outside the sport, I was able to kind of get a grasp on things. And I'm one of the fortunate ones to be able to kind of separate myself. So when I'm having, I don't have any real, episodes, whatever I'm going to call them now. But at the time it was quite frequent, and I was more absorbed into the actual situation. Whereas now I'm able to kind of see it and realize, how I'm acting and what things are, I know it's going to pass. It's kind of hard to really get into it, but it's, so anyway, so I took that time and I took this kind of ability to realize what's going on and see things around me a bit differently. And so I started working with the CMHA, which is the Canadian Mental Health Association, and just started working with athletes and different things like that within the programming there, to just kind of work together on getting better and realizing that these are, you're not a bad person because you feel a certain way and stuff like that. And as we've realized in action sports in general, the issues in sports, but just action sports as well, with CTE and concussion based symptoms are huge. I remember when Dave Mira passed away, that was huge for me. I was a big BMX guy back in the day, and that was big, and then we've had recently in Canada, we've had a few tragedies, and as our good friend Jeff, that was a big one. That was really big, and it's I still think about that probably once a day. So it's one of those things where you try to do your best and you try to help everybody, but unfortunately you can't. So I'm just trying to bring awareness as best I can to to that side of it, because as moto guys especially, we're, like I said, earlier in this interview, we're pretty tough people. We're pretty, there's guys cut their casts off to go racing, and they're racing like, vet junior or something. They're just, like the average guy, it's not just pros, it's the average guy just, they break their leg. Well, when can I get back on my bike? Like, when can I start racing again? When can I do this? When I do that? We're, I don't want to say we're dumb, but we're pretty thick-headed at times, and we don't really think about it.
Dumb, but it helps.
What's that?
You don't have to be dumb, but it helps.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, some of the fastest guys I know are some of the dumbest guys I know. But and I'm not naming names, but so it's one of those things where it's kind of crazy now that we're looking at this, this invisible virus we're dealing with now with COVID-19. Concussion and concussion-based symptoms and mental health is essentially invisible too. So there's a strong connection there, I think, with how things are going. And I think if we took it all as serious as we do with other things, other broken bones, then I think we'd be in a better place. But, so we're working on, it's been in what's the word I'm looking for? It's been in progress for almost 2 years now, but We're working on a documentary based around mental health and motocross and action sports in general. And, have some really strong supporters in that. It's been really, really well received by the industry, which has been cool. Not a lot's been produced because it's, obviously we had a huge rollout plan for this year, and we're still waiting to see what happens with that. But I think by the end of this year, early next year, it'll come to light. So, and it'll be, ready to go. We hope to put in some film festivals and stuff like that, and work pretty hard on it. So it's good.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, I grew up, one of my best friends since first grade, didn't know, started doing things. He was undiagnosed schizophrenic.
Jeez, yeah.
Ended up on the street. We don't even know where he is now. Like, he's just, and I mean, so it's just, I think about that every day. Then with Tanner Ward and Tanner Ward's ride last year for his brother.
Yep. Yeah, that was awesome. I've told Tanner, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I've told Tanner, 100 times how cool that was that he did that. And I was there. I wasn't even there officially. I was just there to be a part of it. And I brought some bikes for guys to ride. Like, I would put Tyler on a road bike, and Noof was on my cyclocross bike, and just trying to, I was like, here, whatever we got in the van, just take it, and we'll go. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Cause that was a real shame about Tanner's brother for sure.
Right. And then of course, Jeff McConkey,
Yep.
you mentioned there earlier, we've lost him. Of course, we think about him every day. That's why I'm going to take his YZ252 stroke and kind of leave his numbers on it, and try to do, when I test products and stuff like that, I'm going to bring that bike and kind of just as a tribute to him and to people to be aware of the mental health awareness, right? So it's all part of it.
That's pretty cool, Billy, for sure. That's, Jeff was, I've known Jeff since I was probably 12 or 13 years old. I'm 32 now. I'll be 32 this year. So I've known him for, more than half my life. And we didn't always get along, but he was always my friend, and he was always a guy that, we'd butt heads like so hard at times. And then he'd call me like an hour later, what's up, Fish? Like, what are you doing? We're going riding. Like, that's just who we were. I've got some, I told my dad I was going to do this interview, and he's like, you got to tell a funny Jeff story. And he told me the story he wanted me to tell. And I think it's pretty telling of Jeff. And I think you'll laugh at this one. It's, so we were racing at Port Perry again, our local track, back when it was open. And, Jeff always had to have the coolest, freshest stuff, right? Always, guys racing 2 classes. They're like 4 laps each. He's switching gear in between every moto. Every single moto he's switching gear. And 2 of his motos were like not back to back, but very, very close. And he's switching his gear in his truck, in the back of his truck, and his moto's on the line. So he's like, no, I got to switch. My dad's like, what are you doing, Jeff? Like, you got to get up there. Like, so my dad runs over there and puts his hand up. So they delayed the start of the race so he could put fresh gear on. Like, that's the story I'll always think of when it comes to Jeff.
Yeah, that's Jeff.
It was so funny. Like, man, it was so funny. I can't tell you how funny it was to be there and be like, what are you doing, man? It was good.
Yeah, pretty much like you say, that sums up Jeff right there. He just loved the industry, loved the sport, loved the new.
Oh yeah.
That's.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we can go into that as much as we want, but it was tough for sure. I talked to him just a day or two before that, and before everything went down, and it was tough for me because I felt like I kind of failed a little bit too, in a way, as his friend and as someone who has worked in the mental health field. I didn't really. I was upset that I didn't catch anything. I didn't see anything. But that's the thing. It's invisible.
It's invisible, and it maybe wouldn't be as invisible if people didn't work so damn hard to hide it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was. And that's the thing with him, right? He was always very, very confident. Very, he exuded that. Anyways, he was always confident and always fresh. Everything's always looking good. Like, there's never a guy that had like the freshest clothes. I'm sure he's bugging guys like Jay Moore at Fox, who's a really good friend of mine. But I'm sure he's bugging Jay, he's bugging Andrew and those guys at Scott for always having fresh stuff. Like, the guy had so much gear and so many pairs of boots and goggles. Oh man, it was crazy. But yeah, that was him, 100%. That's exactly who he was.
Oh man, that's funny. And we talking of your dad there was kind of funny. Just a silly story. Remember when we were at the Detroit Supercross last year?
Oh,
we went up for lunch. And we got talking, and I always joke about how I was the crappiest rider that Pirelli ever sponsored. And
yeah.
your dad's like, wait a minute, what's your last name? And he goes, I remember that. And I'm like, oh, that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, so that's kind of a funny story that my dad's been a motorcycle guy his whole life. He had his motorcycle license before he had his car license. He's always been a road guy, never been a huge dirt guy, but he's got some good stories about riding with John Nelson and some guys from Honda and stuff. And he's good friends with JSR. Well, I mean, JSR is a friend of our families pretty much. He's been a big part of my life. So my dad worked for Pirelli, and then he worked for Dunlop before he worked at Honda. So he was a big tire guy. He knows. We didn't know, but at the time he had meetings with like Roger DeCoster, Malcolm Smith. He's on the line with Mark Barnett, because Mark Barnett was a big tester for them. Checking just tires and fitments and wears and all this. My dad's like the biggest tire guy ever. But growing up, I always had fresh tires. Like it was, it wasn't about suspension. It was never motor mods. It was always brand new tires. So it was pretty. He can still do a tire change at like almost 7 years old with like one or two spoons. Like, pretty funny.
I mean, see, the problem with having a tire sponsor back then was I was such a crappy mechanic that half the time I'd show up at the line and I'd have snake bitten one of my tires from changing it and pinching the tube. And I go, oh, great. Well, can everybody wait 20 minutes while I go change another one?
That's the tubes. You bought more tubes than you bought tires because we're always popping them. Yeah, it's he's got some pretty cool stories. He's a guy that I've always said that he's a very understated person where he doesn't claim any big things, but he's always told me a lot of cool stories. Going to dinner with Malcolm Smith in his van in California and stuff like that. And he said Roger DeCoster. He likes to talk about Roger DeCoster, and he says he looks like he was in a knife fight because of all the surgery scars he had on him and stuff. And yeah, he's got some pretty cool stories. So
my coolest Malcolm Smith MSR Racing T-shirt, man, I wish I still had this one or a photo of it, was a big pair of pink lips on the front, and it said "Motocrossers get the chicks."
That's true. We definitely do. I don't know if I did, but I know a lot of guys that did.
My mom's sitting right there, and she actually would have been the one who bought it for me back in the day. I would have, Mom, can I get this T-shirt? Can I get this T-shirt?
That's the best. That's such a fun. They should make more stuff like that. That's cool.
Okay, man. So what's kind of next coming up with your? Let's just to kind of close the chapter on the mental health part there. Yeah.
So we're working with the CMHA and different industry sponsors to kind of produce this documentary and this idea of kind of overcoming. I feel like my racing might have been a little bit different if I didn't deal with what I dealt with, and the idea of kind of coming back to the sport, not at any major level, but the idea of being able to come back and ride and race again and have a lot of fun doing it, because a lot of people think that if they have a mental health diagnosis, that's their label, that's who they are, that's what they do. And it's kind of more of a showing that you can kind of do whatever you want. Like it's, you don't have to live your life based on this idea that this is who you are. So yeah, a lot of cool industry sponsors. Jake Trottier at Oakley has been a big supporter of that, and he's always just whatever I need, he's got me hooked up. Jay from Fox, Jay Moore is actually another good story too. I've known Jay since I was like a young teenager, so he's a good friend of mine, and he's always been a big supporter of everything we do. And it's going to be good. I have a really good feeling about it, and obviously we'll roll it out to all the motocross media in Canada, and when it's done, and we'll just, hopefully it's well received, right? It's hard to really talk about a ton of it right now because some of it's it's weird how that works. Some people, they want things under wraps up till a certain point, and we've got a full production crew. Like it's really legit. It's not just like some GoPro footage. It's gonna be really well done. So we're looking forward to that. I'm working with Pete Marcelli. I don't know if you know Pete Marcelli at all. Yeah, so Pete, he's a part of it too, and it should be good. So he actually lives just down the road from my parents. So we've got some big plans, and that's going to be the next step in that.
Okay, cool. Does it have a working title yet that you can say, or no?
We originally, a working title was called Resurgence, but I don't know if we're going to change that as we go, and we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be pretty neat. I think it's going to be. I really want it to be well done. That was the whole plan. I didn't want to just put something together, that was kind of hodgepodge and whatnot. I really want it to be high quality and something that could be viewed by anybody, really, not just moto guys, but kind of the world in general. So that's the plan.
Okay, cool, man. Well, I look forward to seeing that, obviously, and yeah, I have to check that out for sure. Now, I know we were kind of talking a little bit earlier about some things too, and you kind of mentioned with this whole quarantine thing, isolation, social distancing, can't ride. What, like, I mean, is there something people can be doing? Obviously, just almost mental fitness, or you know what I mean? Just kind of something
Yep.
to keep in mind or whatever right now as we're going through this.
Yeah, but I mean, by no means am I, a psychologist or an expert. That's kind of my disclaimer. But as someone who has, dealt with this many times for many years, I found routine was huge, and I found myself actually really reconnecting with music again. This whole thing is kind of, listening to old bands I used to like, and I went through the whole discography of Blink 182 the other day because I used to love Blink growing up, and being from Lindsay and Peterborough area, you're kind of a country boy, but
They're playing
you
in
know,
London. They're playing in London right after. Is it this year? Right
this
after
year.
Go for Dunes, I believe.
Yeah, I know. I saw that. I want to get tickets. I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not, but if it does, I want to go. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of things like routine is really good. I mean, I'm a really big believer in exercise and just getting out, doing anything. I'm really fortunate here in my condo. I've got like a ski erg and I've got some weights and stuff like that, so I can be at home, kind of do my own thing. And I've also got my road bike and my mountain bike here too. So I ride for not for, but with Norco now. So Norco's helped me out through a local shop, Fontaine's, Source for Sports. So get out for rides and whatnot, and just trying to, not today obviously. I don't know if it's snowing where you are right now, but it's snowing right here. Like I feel like we should be racing to Gopher Dunes and it's snowing. But anyways, yeah, just kind of and just realizing too that it's unfortunate because we are such big lovers of the sport and everything in general, but there's way bigger things at play right now. It's unfortunate, but there's nothing we can do about it. That's what I really realized at first too, because I love being at the track. I love
Not
even if I'm
according to Facebook. According to Facebook, there's lots of stuff you can go and complain.
oh, dude, I actually deleted Facebook off my phone, so I wasn't looking at it every day. And I don't look at news reports. I don't do anything like that because, I know, and like, I'm no expert, but I know that this could all change tomorrow. It could all change for the better tomorrow. We don't know. And that's the thing. It's this huge unknown. And it's like we deal with that unknown now. But the only thing you can control is yourself and your behaviors and your outlooks on everything. So for me, I'm a big believer on just trying to stay as positive as possible. If we don't go racing this year, for example, I know we're going to try to as a series and everything. There is next year. Like this isn't forever, and it's unfortunate, but part of my job with Pirelli is to deal with F1. So that's a pretty big deal, and there's talk of F1 being canceled altogether this year. I mean, and that's Formula One. That's pretty big. So it's and there's definitely some differences with Canadian moto, which I think might actually help us with being domestic only and whatnot. But I'm just big believer on exercise is huge. Just getting out for a walk, that fresh air. If you got a bicycle, get outside. Don't sit on the trainer because it's that fresh air can do a lot of good for you. Even 20 minutes, half hour, an hour. Just go for the easy spin. It's a huge difference. I feel like I'm going to be in better shape when I'm out of this quarantine than I was going into it because it's just what else do you got to do? You work from home, get some exercise in. You're working on what you're eating and look at it like a positive. Look at like I can only control what's in my life right now. I can't control the world, and just focus on that moving forward.
Right. So you're saying routine is important. So are you saying maybe I should think about a shower or maybe putting some pants on one of these days? Or
yeah, well, when you said you had to put some clothes on, I said that's probably our biggest issue daily now is that we got to put clothes on, and you don't need to for the most part, right? I always put a shirt on because I usually have to do video calls or something with Italy, but I know sometimes I don't put pants on. Not gonna lie. That's it's visual for everyone to visualize that, but
that's funny. All right, well, Greg. So what can we talk about? As you're talking about, they're talking about obviously canceling like Formula One for goodness sake, things like that,
yep.
of that magnitude and stuff. So what do you do like in Pirelli right now? What are you able to do in your job?
So for the most part, I'm big on. It's actually my job title is I'm a sales director for Pirelli Canada. So the auto side, Pirelli moto side is handled by a distributor. So I know Steve Sims is really big on the race support side of things, but I don't have anything to do with that. That's a fully different deal. So I basically work with dealers and different programs on that side about sales. It's a really kind of a unique way. I didn't realize this until I got in the industry, but how the auto side of the tire industry is very different than what you may think. We're used to like manufacturer, say in the moto side, say, FMF, here's a good example. FMF is produced in the States. They're distributed in Canada by Parts Canada to the dealers. In the auto side with tires, there's 4 or 5 different channels that happen. It's completely crazy compared to what I was used to. So it took a little bit to get used to, and then I also work within the motorsports side to, like I said, when F1 comes to Montreal, that's a big thing for us. It's like, our biggest thing of the year. Like everything sort of revolves around that. As Pirelli is the official tire supplier for Formula One.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what I do today.
Sorry, man. Anything else we want to talk about here? We're kind of checking the clock here. We should probably. Yeah,
I'm sure.
My producer and director, they're giving me the wrap it up. So.
No, it's thank you very much for this, for this opportunity. I appreciate it. I always like talking to you, and I miss you a lot from seeing you at the races and stuff. We always have good conversations, and I don't think I've seen you since Jeff's service. But I'm excited to see everyone again, and I still keep in touch with everyone. I still talk to like Tyler Medallia probably once a week. I talk to Cale Foster every day. Cale and I talk every friggin' day about something. He's always, he's one of my best buds. But just everyone stay positive, and we're gonna get through this. It's gonna be we'll be back riding and racing before we know it. I know that the team at JetWorks are trying really hard to put something together, and the local series too. But we got to remember, it's not on them. It's bigger than that, right? There's governments involved now and stuff like that. And they can only do so much. So I know they're trying really hard and try to keep the positivity going forward, because eventually it will happen, right? We'll be back before we know it.
All right, cool. Well, as you heard, those 8 chimes mean it's 2 o'clock. What? Did you hear that in the background?
No.
All right, yeah, thanks for your time. That's kind of fun to have a chat about certainly different sides of the thing, other things to be thinking about here right now, and some kind of points out what's important too. You know what I mean? You're sitting here on your own, and think about what is important and everything. We're all excited to get back, and we will get back. It's just, and it's funny too, because this quarantine thing can go either way. You can completely fall apart, or you can come out of this and be even better than you were. So I like that's the way to think about it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's just the way to use the time available to us. And, I've seen some guys, I just was actually talking to Brian Cormier the other day, racer from Quebec. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. He's on his trainer in his motorhome, just like grinding it out, getting it done. A lot of these guys just use the opportunity as, you can get more training in, because we're not going racing until, I think it's June or something now, or potentially
Potentially. They're making the announcement on May 1st, what happens. Again.
Yeah. So we've been given more time to get in better shape. So you got a longer off season, right? So use it as you can, and just come out swinging. It's going to be good. When it does happen, it's going to be good.
All right. Well, let's end it there. And again, thanks for your time, and good luck in your quarantine there, your isolation. And we'll see you when we get back rolling.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing you and everybody again when we all get together.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot for your time. We'll talk to you soon.
See ya.